Welcome back to The Explainer. So, we're unpacking a pretty wild scenario unfolding in Liga MX today. Club América literally just kicked off their Apertura 2026 campaign with a victory. But man, the tension surrounding the club right now is through the roof. If you're sitting there wondering why a Week 1 win feels kind of like a full-blown crisis, well, you're in the right place. We're going to analyze if the Eagles are actually prepared for this season after a really chaotic start, both on and off the pitch. To really get a grip on that dramatic Matchday 1 clash with Querétaro, we first have to ask ourselves a pretty fundamental question. Is this squad actually ready for the Apertura 2026? Because yeah, the history books are going to show they walked away with 3 points, but when we take a deeper look at the data and the current roster situation, it tells a much more precarious story. Just look at this quote from Soy Football leading up to the match. They reported that the Eagles are facing, quote, major roadblocks in the transfer market. And honestly, that one sentence perfectly captures the massive tension hanging over Coapa before the first whistle even blew. They went into opening weekend totally scrambling, missing those key pieces they fully expected to have locked down by now. Part 1, Transfer Market Roadblocks. Okay, let's just dive right into the off-field chaos that defined their preseason, specifically their failure to land some of those key primary targets. And this brilliantly illustrates the front office's dual failures. On one side, you have Luis Chávez, who flat out refused to return to Liga MX. He is laser-focused on staying in Europe with Dynamo Moscow. And on the flip side, Borja Iglesias. Sure, the Spanish striker had interest, but he came with a massive $10 million fee and was demanding a salary higher than team captain Henry Martín. Management basically had to walk away just to keep the locker room from completely revolting, a real financial headache. So with those primary targets completely out of reach, Plan B had to be activated. The front office, led by Santiago Baños, is now frantically scrambling for backup options to boost the squad, balance the books, and, keep this team in the title hunt. Honestly, it's definitely not the ideal way to kick off a new campaign. Part 2, the Almada era begins. Add to those glaring roster holes a massive transition on the sidelines as we enter the Guillermo Almada era. The legendary André Jardine era is officially over. Guillermo Almada takes the helm, tasked with rebuilding the team. But get this, he takes over just as the team's absolute most creative player, Alejandro Zendejas, is sidelined for a month with knee surgery. As you guys know, losing your championship-winning manager and your main playmaker at the exact same time, that is the literal definition of a perfect storm. Part 3, dominance without polish. So how exactly did this lack of attacking depth and imagination manifest on the pitch against Querétaro? Let's take a look. Now, what's really interesting here is that América completely dominated the flow of the game. They held a massive 62% of the ball possession. Querétaro was basically just pinned back, waiting around for counterattacks while the Eagles dictated the entire pace of the game. But as we all know, possession doesn't automatically equal precision. Check this out. Despite ripping 17 total shots, América only managed to put 5 of them on target. Just 5. They generated 3 big chances, but really struggled to convert. It absolutely proved that without those key transfers, and obviously without Zendejas out there, they severely lacked clinical finishing in the final third. And because of that missing puzzle piece, the game just dragged into this frustrating, insipid, 0-0 stalemate for over 70 minutes. Without Zendejas' imagination and those failed transfer targets, they had the ball, sure, but they just didn't know how to actually hurt Querétaro with it. Part 4, late drama and redemptions. Let's move on and see how this builds into an absolutely frantic final 20 minutes, where the tension finally broke. We can perfectly map out this late-game chaos right here. It kicks off with a missed penalty at the 73rd minute, followed by a stunning release of pressure with a goal at minute 83, and then it all wraps up with a super tense finish down a man. Let's break this down. So the real turning point is the 73rd minute. VAR steps in and awards a penalty for Diego Reyes' handball. Captain Henry Martín steps up to take it, but goalkeeper Guillermo Almada pulls off this massive save. I mean, it was such an eerie callback to Martín's painful Liga miss against Pumas. You could literally feel the air just get sucked right out of the stadium. But then, just when a super disappointing draw felt totally inevitable, Isaías Violante stepped up. In the 83rd minute, he blasted an absolute right-footed golazo into the net to give the Eagles a 1-0 lead. It was this incredible moment of pure individual brilliance that honestly kind of masked the team's wider offensive struggles on the day. The drama wasn't over yet, though. They then had to survive a totally nerve-wracking final few minutes after Alan Cervantes picked up a second yellow card and was sent off. Down to 10 men, America's defense just had to hold on for dear life to secure that victory. Part 5. Looking ahead for America. Okay, so they survived the opening test, but what does this narrow victory actually mean for the rest of the Apertura? Look, on the plus side, they secured the 3 points to officially kick off Almada's tenure. And a win is a win, right? But the match also glaringly exposed their desperate need for offensive reinforcements. Without Zendejas out there pulling the strings, the roster limitations were super obvious. It puts a massive amount of urgency on the front office to go out and actually secure those Plan B transfers before it's too late. Which leaves us with this final kind of provocative thought. With a pretty narrow win under their belts, but some seriously glaring roster holes, can Almada's Eagles really stay in the title hunt this season? Or is this just the start of a really tough rebuilding year? That is for sure the storyline to watch right now. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you guys next time.